So that's on the way. But we're going to head to Windsor right now. And Windsor is one of, we know it's one of Berkshire's most historic places. It's one of the UK's most historic places. It's got an enormous castle in it, which is quite a few years old now. But there are many traditions which continue today. And it's probably one of the few places in the UK where if you saw a carriage, you go, oh, there's another carriage. Yes, you've probably seen the state visits, the recent state visits. The king passes through the town in a horse-drawn carriage. But this tradition isn't just for royalty. Windsor Carriages offers rides around and across the town and has recently been included on the Tourism Cares Meaningful Travel Map, which highlights organisations around the world that are using tourism to help communities, heritage and sustainability. Rebecca Seear is part of a line of carriage drivers in the town and can talk more about it. Hello to you, Rebecca.
Hello, good afternoon, Phil.
Yes, as I say, it's one of those few places, perhaps in the UK, where if someone sees a carriage, they just sort of take it for granted almost.
Absolutely. So we are so fortunate in Windsor to not only have His Majesty the King's carriages that are now predominantly at Windsor, as opposed to Buckingham Palace. Lots more have moved down. We also have the Household Cavalry for their ceremonial carriages and horses, and ourselves.
Yes, I was about to say, when it comes to carriages, you're very familiar. It's been in the family a long time.
I know this is not the day if you've not had your coffee and you're a bit tired to talk about Hackney carriages. But if you're ready, I can tell you the tale.
Go on then, please do.
Okay, so you have to imagine a world where we all travelled by horse and carriage before the invention of the motor car. So that's how old our licence goes back, all the way back to Oliver Cromwell in the 1650s.
Wow.
So he first realised. I would say he realised we needed to regulate a transport, the carriages. My father would have said he saw an opportunity to tax a new.
That was my thought, actually.
Exactly. So he first created the Act of Parliament to licence Hackney carriages. So when you go up to London, you see the black cabs, you'll see they still have Hackney carriage on their plate at the back. And for many of those black cabs in London, they were originally on a horse and carriage, and the licensing actually moved one by one from carriage to car. Which is quite phenomenal, isn't it?
That's an amazing. I didn't know that. I genuinely didn't realise that. Yeah, you learn something new every day.
That'll come up in a pub quiz one time and you'll have the answer. So obviously with the invention of the motor car and then the railways, really there was no market for horse-drawn coaches for long distances, which were replaced by the train. Before you'd catch a literal carriage all the way to Bristol, to Bath, to Edinburgh, etc. So the trains replaced that and the car replaced the shorter journeys, the taxi business. But in Windsor, very unique because it was a tourist business and we had visitors still coming to the town. Those little short trips that were replaced by cars continued for the tourists, and that's quite similar in a lot of European towns throughout the world. So that's the history of how we still continue, and it's a lovely story. And in fact, in Windsor, we've been able to research that the first Hackney carriage rank, the first taxi rank, which again would have been carriages before the car, was first popped up in I think it's 1687. Can you believe?
My goodness! No,
Yes.
You realise how historic it is, and it's almost like a sort of an emblem for Windsor, isn't it? The Hackney carriage, the horse and carriage.
Well, I like to think so, and I did a funny social media 15-second clip earlier this year, which has had over 500,000 views, 15 seconds, and I'm talking about the taxi rank in Windsor, that you can still see the iron bars on the curbside that the carriage wheels would rest their weight against, only going back 50, 60 years. So next time we're in Windsor, right opposite McDonald's, take a little detour to where the car taxis are and you'll see the iron bars, and you can really imagine that's where once there were up to 12 horses and carriages waiting to take you off wherever you wished.
Now, we're going to continue the conversation once you give me an answer to this next question. Just I thought I'd warn you. But nevertheless, when it comes to carriages now, and you talked about that particular taxi rank there, Hackney carriage rank, The thing is horses and the carriages have to take on these car things, and there's buses and there's lorries, the whole kit and caboodle. How is that for you? I mean, it must be quite scary. On the horses, I suppose, are quite inured to it now.
Well, they are, but it's a really, really good question. And in my personal opinion, the modern town is not necessarily the best place, for horses and carriages to be sitting all day waiting for walk-ups. And I'm happy to say that doesn't happen really in the UK. It does still happen elsewhere in Europe, and in some places that's safe, where it's a bit more pedestrianised. But I think we can all agree that there is a level of discomfort, when you see any animal really in an environment that it isn't naturally seen in. So it has created its own challenges, and that's part of all the changes I've made over the last 10 years to make sure, if the horses were running the business, if they had their say, how would it be run? And that's really what's moved the business into the last decade and what we're doing.
Wow, it's fascinating. You've got a whole new angle. I never realised the horses were actually in charge of your company. So I'll discuss. I'm sure you are as well. You're having a go. Rebecca, we'll catch up with you very shortly. Looking forward to that. Part of a line of carriage drivers in the town. And we'll discover more about carriages around Windsor. Yes, the horse and carriages going around the royal town. And we've been speaking to Rebecca Seear. Rebecca, hello again to you. It was fascinating speaking to you just before Miles Smith took over. But you were talking about literally horses lead the business in more ways than one. Obviously, they lead the carriage too.
Yes. I mean, they set the pace, literally and operationally. So, that's part of the modern challenge now, is how to continue a tradition that's been in the town for hundreds of years, in a modern world that does so responsibly, not just around the animal welfare and ensuring they're enjoying the work, but, all the modern values that you now have within a tourism town of sustainability and community value. And that's where the travel map comes in and is putting us really on the map, which is fantastic.
Yes, I was about to say, I'm surprised actually you haven't really been. I assume you are on a travel map. Lots of people know about you, given the history of the company and everything. But nevertheless, people in 2026 still fancy a carriage ride.
Well, that's a really good question, because no, a lot of people don't, especially international visitors. But what they do want is storytelling, authentic British, people connection, and that's now what we do. So the team, we have the team that comes in with the carriages, but we also work with all the local hotels, restaurants, guides, even chauffeurs, to bring those guests from London, from Oxford, from Bath into Windsor, and create a beautiful day visit. Or predominantly this year has been sort of more corporate events where the carriages form part of that visit, but not necessarily the main attraction. It's that British connection really, with Berkshire, with England, and having a beautiful time.
Thing is that I've only been a couple of times in a carriage, but nevertheless, it is quite an experience, isn't it? It really is. There's obviously the fresh air, but there's the sound of the horses, the clip-clopping and everything, and then it gives you a chance to actually enjoy the view as well.
Yes, it's a very. Our carriages are very peaceful, very very slow moving, taking everything in. It really allows you, to spend time, especially with international visitors, in the British countryside. It's a bit like being on a boat. People say, like, they always sleep well in the evening. It is very relaxing, but part of that is also, how do we share that wonderful experience, like you say, the sound of the horses, the iron tires on gravel, which is so reminiscent of the way we travelled. Arriving at country homes when you watch Bridgerton or The Gilded Age. It's a very evocative feeling, and that's certainly what our guests experience, and why it's so important to us to get it out into the community, to do the school visits, to go to organisations like local hospices, and really bring that joy and peace to people in a different way.
Just finally, looking at the generations that have lived through carriage riding in your family, is the next generation ready? You can pass it on?
I very much hope so. So our head coachman, Jonathan Edwards, and his lovely wife Shelby, they have 4 daughters. So we're looking good for succession. The eldest is 9, and the youngest is, I think, almost 3 months old. Uh,
It's
so
got a while
that's
to wait
the next
yet.
step. Well, you can never start too young. She's already been to her first meeting, and Bonnie, the eldest, is already carriage driving and competing. So yeah, that's the plan. Still being a family business, and it's definitely a custodianship that you sort of hand over because you have to be passionate about this tradition. So yeah, that's the plan, and they can be followed actually on social media. The Coachman's Daughters, we've called them, so you can watch behind the scenes and hopefully watch them grow into this tradition over the coming years.
At the age of 9 as well, and obviously showing some talent for it too. Must be in the blood.
Yes. Oh yes, they're all excellent. Well, they have to be because they also come from a very long line, generationally. Their father, their grandfather, and so on, of carriage drivers. And people would say to my father, "How did you get into carriage driving?" And he would say, "How did you get out of carriage driving?" As we all, at some point, if you work your line back, if you're from the country or from Berkshire, there will be some connection in your family history.
That's fascinating. Rebecca, it's been lovely speaking to you. Have a good day as well today.
My pleasure. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Rebecca Seear there from Windsor Carriages, talking about carriages. Yes, I suppose if you do go back, some way, shape or form, we've got a link with carriage driving.